I have Miss Andrea Crumpleman here and Miss Julie Pouncey. I actually have an administrative team of 5 now, so 2 of my assistant principals are back in the building. Since we joined and became a larger campus this year, we were able to add 2 additional administrators on our team today. Before I start, I'd just like to thank all of you publicly for your time and dedication, and just publicly thank Dr. Cox-Crewy for all of your support today. I just want to talk a little bit about the points of pride. For my board report today, it's a little bit interesting because I do want to spend a few minutes and talk about last year's assessment scores and how it relates to Summit View Elementary and Summit View Middle, but then most of my time today I'm going to spend on what it looks like for Summit View Academy, because I figured that's what you're probably most interested in. But although our assessment scores we're not as high as we would have liked for Summit View Elementary, we still did remain a proficient school this year and scoring in the 75th percentile. Very exciting news for Summit View Middle. The assessment scores did increase overall in all academic areas except for social studies, and we just missed proficiency by 9/10 of a point. So very encouraging for those assessment scores that were moving in the right direction, and we were just almost there. But what I'm most excited about is the opportunity that we've been given this year to move from a traditional elementary and middle school to a P-8 academy. And so I'll be talking more in detail throughout my board report for what that looks like. I'd like to share a few strategies that the elementary school did implement last year to help with this assessment scores. We did show improvements in the area of reading, not only in achievement, but in growth as well. And we also did improve that overall writing score. So those were our biggest gains that we were able to make. One strategy that we implemented was close reading, and we received specific training from one of our reading interventionists in our building. We did that school-wide, and then we also were very intentional when we were looking at lesson plans and we were in classrooms to see that that was being taught with fidelity. Another strategy that we did, we've always had reading counts in our school. It's an online comprehension assessment that you can give after students read a book, and it kind of just had fallen off the wayside. So last year, as an admin team, we brought that program back. We made sure that students were setting goals based on their Lexile, and then Ms. Crumpleman and I formally recognized those students that met their goals each trimester. We celebrated with the students that were the highest point earner, but also celebrated with those students that were most improved, because we know that's, those are the kids that we need to reach to help improve our assessment scores. Also, something that we started, and this is a strategy that we'd like to continue this year with all grades, is meeting in vertical teams, looking specifically at a specific content. And last year we focused on reading and grouping our staff together K-5. And we were able to do that in our faculty meetings, and we were talking about instructional strategies that were being taught across the grade levels, looking at those instructional gaps. And I do think that that really made a difference for our reading scores, and that's something that will continue. Summit View Middle, one strategy that they implemented last year, and we were able to see the growth and achievement in the scores, was we have one particular teacher, regular ed teacher, special education teacher, and then an instructional assistant who teach all the Read 180 program at the school. And it just helped with the fidelity of implementation, and that's something that we're continuing this year as well. And then something else is just utilizing the district consultants. Last year, the middle school utilized their support quite a bit, not only with RTI, but also implementing a writing boot camp and grouping students based on assessment scores, and we were able to see growth in both of those areas. Next, I'd like to talk a little bit about the changes and progress that we've made as we became Summit View Academy. This has probably been my most challenging year as a principal, but also my most rewarding and exciting year. And ultimately, I believe all of these changes, we're going to see improvement in our assessment scores across the board. prior to even starting the school year, we spent a lot of time just educating the community and families on what this school would look like. We had lots of questions, lots of people that were apprehensive, and we felt like it was very important that we had an opportunity for parents to come into the building and hear not only from us, but from Dr. Cox-Crewy and transportation, and that was a huge success. We had, I don't know how many people actually came, but it was, a packed house in each of those sessions and a very positive experience. Another thing that we did, just bringing two different staffs together can be a challenge, and we know we had a lot of staff members who were apprehensive, and so we were able to do a team building day at school where we created activities where they could get to know each other in a non-threatening way, and that was prior to school starting, and that was a huge success. We also spent a great deal of time branding the school, which was a whole lot of fun, creating new school colors, creating a mascot, and with that, we made sure that we had feedback from all of our stakeholders. We had parent, student, community, they were able to vote, and then we were able to reveal our new mascot and school colors at a special back-to-school assembly when we brought both sets of students together. So obviously you know that we're the Summit View Academy Royals, and we are now blue, silver, and gold, and so we are very excited about that. If it was the Rockets, I'm not sure if the school would have been very happy, because when we were announcing both of them, we got the most cheers for the Royals. So behind the scenes, I was thankful that it was the Royals that won. Also, two aspects that we've been working on is just creating a positive school culture in our community, and that communication piece. We've been looking at creative ways throughout the summer and then also up to this point on just making sure that we're recognizing students and staffs for just going above and beyond. Making sure that we're acknowledging everybody for their hard work, and just having high expectations for students and teachers. This year, we've also added a STARS program for our students in grades 6 to 8. I've always done a Lucky Ladybug luncheon with my elementary kids, but I thought dressing up like a ladybug for 6th graders and 7th and 8th graders, they might not think that's as humorous. So we do Summit View STARS, and we recognize those students who doesn't have to be the top student in the class, but somebody that's giving their best effort, and then they get to spend a 45-minute lunch period with me and our administrative team. And so that's been a huge success. Also, some feedback that we had gotten from our parent community is really just working on communication. So we've tried to communicate with families in a variety of ways. We do require grade level newsletters that are bi-weekly from all grades, from preschool through 8, and then also utilizing Remind 101, which is a text message feature, and parents absolutely love that. And then using Bright Arrow, as needed, but mostly communicating electronically because we know that's how our parents prefer. The next strategy that I'm going to talk about that I know will increase student achievement is what it's going to look like as we move from just Summit View Academy to a STEAM school. Right now we're working towards problem-based learning in all of our classes. We are fortunate enough to have a full-time STEAM consultant on our campus, Mr. Chavez, and he's been working closely with all of our teachers in various grade levels on developing what it looks like to have problem-based learning in the classroom. And he's also been co-teaching those lessons as well to make teachers comfortable. And so that's been a huge success, and that's something that we'll be expanding not only through this year, but through next year as well. We also are in the process of creating 2 makerspace areas in our media centers. The items have been ordered, and so hopefully by the end of the year we'll have those up. Before Christmas break, we'll have those areas up and going. We also have 3 3D printers in our school. We purchased 2 with our school funds, and then we received an additional 3D printer from a grant that Mr. Chavez had written. And we will be starting a 3D printer club, and so that's pretty cool. So I invite all of you out to see some of the cool trinkets that we can make. We've actually used a lot of the trinkets as rewards for kids instead of purchasing something, because you can make really cool keychains and phone cases. It's pretty neat. So come on out. Also, something else that we did was we really expanded our RTI process on the 6 to 8 side. We allowed more opportunities for enrichment for those students that were not in need of an intervention. And through that process, we were able to add several classes at all grades when they're participating in a STEAM type lesson. So Mr. Chavez is even modeling and doing an RTI session this 9 weeks so he can be a model for those teachers. Also, through our PLC meetings and our faculty meetings, we'll be adding some professional development to just make sure all of our staff are informed on what STEAM means and what it looks like in the classroom. We'll be really focusing on the 5 E's, which is engage, explore, explain, elaborate, and evaluate. And those concepts can be incorporated not only in science, but all contents areas as well. We recently met with Rob Haney, and we're working with our student art club to paint murals on the wall. Research says if you have a vibrant school community, that it creates a positive school culture. So we have some sketches on our walls right now, and hopefully those will be brought to life in the next couple months. But the most important part is just the development of our STEAM school-wide expectations. We have our STEAM committee on it right now. They are developing what it looks like from kindergarten through 8 to have those STEAM expectations. And we're going to use the acronym ROYAL. And so we'll have words and phrases for each of those letters. And so it'll be expectations for the whole entire school academically. And then what we'll be doing is we'll be looking at rubrics, so we'll know at a kindergarten level, what does this look like? What does it look like for first graders? And then we're going to continue with our PBIS, the stars, so we'll have the academics and the behavior together, and it'll be our Royal Stars. So hopefully we'll have all of that finalized by January and be rolling that out, so we'll be ready to go for next school year. Also, when we combined to be a P to 8 school, we increased our free and reduced lunch population. So we are now fortunate enough to be a Title I targeted assistance school. And so that allowed us to hire 2 additional interventionists and 1 instructional assistant. So we now have 3 interventionists that are working with students from kindergarten through 8th grade. Also, just a big change for us is we did combine our PBIS committee into 1 committee, which was definitely challenging for us, but we are definitely on the right track. We're focusing on hallway behavior and bus behavior. We still have some adjustments that we need to make with transportation, but we know that would be our biggest challenge this year, and we're getting there. But that's something that our committee will be looking at. Also, we spent a great deal of time right after the test scores on data analysis and really looking at data from last year and what it looked like for those individual teachers. We also then took the data of the current kids that are in their class, and the teachers are now looking at strategies for that data of the kids that are in their classrooms right now, making goals and looking at those instructional strategies and gaps. So we just finished that process up last week through our PLC meetings, and then as an administrative team, we'll be monitoring that data after our next round of MAP assessment. We'll monitor that in the spring, and what's great is we've created a tool that then even next year after those students take their K-Prep and we get those scores back, we can hold those teachers accountable to those specific students. Also, we are currently piloting the iRead program with kindergarten through 2nd grade. I think we're one of 3 schools in the elementary that are using that. We're still new in the beginning, but we'll have our Scholastic rep. I think she was here today, and she'll be following up in the next 3 weeks to give us some feedback on implementation. Other ideas that we're going to be using to just help benefit our students in all content areas is really being intentional with live scoring. I know that's something that I've talked about in past board reports, but really making sure we're monitoring that process and also being a part of it as an administrative team. Each of my assistant principals are in charge of certain grade levels, and so what we'll make sure is that we're working with those grade levels to ensure that that's happening, and then also providing that support. And then continuing just being very intentional in our classroom walks. The district created a new tool that we're using, and it's allowed us to provide more specific feedback to our teachers and just really making sure that each and every day that we're in classrooms, supporting the work and providing feedback as necessary. Ongoing with our RTI block, I think that's something that will continuously be talked about. You know, just making sure that that block, the interventions that we're providing during that block is working for our students, but then also making sure that we are providing challenging opportunities for those students that are above grade level. And then providing some content-specific professional development. I know the 6 to 8 consultants are working closely with our 6 to 8 teachers on content strategies. And then another thing that we're doing, when we did our data analysis, we saw a real deficit in math. So we currently have our consultants coming in, looking at that tier 1 instruction, because we know that's where it starts. And so probably within the next 2 weeks, we'll be meeting with the consultants, meeting with grade levels, and meeting with individual teachers as necessary to really look at what's happening in math. For some reason, we just are not making growth in math. The achievement isn't growing, the growth is not growing, and then our gap is pretty low. So we definitely have a deficit there, and we've acknowledged it and looking for that feedback from some outside sources. So again, I know 15 minutes is hard to capture everything, but I appreciate your attention and everything that you do for us. Oh, I did. No, we always, no. Yes. We were always a couple percentage points short at the elementary, and so when we combined, it increased the overall percentage.
What's been the biggest challenge? I'm sure there's lots of challenges.
I think for us, I could say transportation, but I won't bore you with that. I mean, really the biggest challenge is, I think, finding the time to educate staff and community on really what does STEAM mean and what is it going to look like in the classroom. And I feel like one of my assistant principals and the STEAM consultant did visit a school in Lexington, and then he also came and talked to us, and he's helped us with that vision, because there really aren't any STEAM schools that are K-8. Most of them are high school, so we're really starting with a model on our own. And you know, we've gotten ideas from other schools, but for the most part, we're really starting from scratch, which is exciting, but also challenging in the same breath.
Well, I'm thrilled to hear you see all this. And I'm sure, I mean, you were middle school curriculum, so you had to have a lot of
I'm learning. I ask lots of questions. But it's going well. It's been good. Lots of positive feedback from the staff. Thank you. I have a great admin team.
To clarify one quick point on the math related thing, you say right now you are still trying to figure out what the issue is.
We are. We've primarily elementary, but the 6 through 8 wasn't too great either. So right now, the consultants have been observing. They've actually spent probably the past 3 weeks observing in classrooms. I had given them some names of some target classrooms. We do ability groups, so I really want to look at to make sure, are we, providing the proper instruction, especially with those lower ability classes that are co-taught with a special ed teacher. And so she's given me some snippets of feedback, but she's going to finish up right before Thanksgiving break, and then we're going to follow up when we get back from Thanksgiving break and really look at individual teacher meetings as well as grade level meetings and even some school-wide deficits. So it's been helpful. No one likes to hear it, but we're at that point where, we're moving in other content areas, but we're not moving in math, so we need to make some structural changes. All right, thank you.
Thank you.